Sangye chudan tsoge chonam la janju badu dani gyazu ji dagi chunyin gibe sunam gi drola benje sangye druba yu sangye chudan tsoge chonam janju badu dani gyazu ji dagi chunyin gibe sunam gi drola benje sangye druba yu sangye chudan tsoge chonam Chanchu bardo dani gyazunji dagi jini gibi zanamji dola binji zanji drubayu. Oh yeah. Ta nga gi nyamlendi ani chi kaso re gesan sange tongi nane namdi shiba tang namdi dunba imba yu ani dunba dini kadu la ta chi kaso re nga gi tembe nyamlen chik taraya chigi ta ledan gawa shiyo de re maombe sange chambe kadu la ani ta de kaso re nga gi temba mes nga gi temba gawa mewe sor chik ta dinde chigi an dinde imba indi tari chi kaso re jir ani chi kaso re tari duksi nga zuru rushije ta nga gi nyamne sogre ta doji sambe dinde nyamne chaya di gawa sangbu yin samsam chigi gado tang dinde chik chaya chigi ta diya kechin buri shas ani labar tu ta nga nyamne chaya pala chi kaso re ta jidang da xie goya da hako goya da mangbu yorde ine yang da chi mangshi de wudi tumu lamchang guguri samsam chi zang mangshi de tumu lamchang che tumu lamchang gi ti tone da zo hadang lama da idam de zula ichi gi teba teba di be masi keshin buri de yore dinda yinba yindi da tebe lo manyambachi chi samsam chi dang tebe lo la parchi gi 남도 낭니 용내라도 대별로라 파지기로 파지기 남도 치료니 기비 긴 가르치기네 단 딘데기 파지기 시험도 마송하지 지인냠배다 대바디 숨겹치야기 지금 둔바 야구지 제야디 개좀 부르시셔서
In the context of Tantra and during this fortunate period, there has been the presentation. There's been these 1,000 Buddhas which have come about, 1,000 Buddha, and there's only been during the 4th and the 7th Buddhas where the tantric teachings have actually been exposed, and it is said that the future Buddha Maitreya, during his turning of the wheel of Dharma, they will not be the presence of these tantric teachings. And so considering this context of this fortunate era or this fortunate year in which we are living today, we can develop a sincere joy and appreciation for having this opportunity to be able to engage in this Vajrasattva practice, which forms part of these tantric teachings. And so within the context of Tantra, there is so many different aspects which need to be understood and so many aspects to be learned, but we can really place the basis of our understanding on what we call the common path with the other vehicles. And so training in this common path really will enable oneself to develop faith in the deity, faith in one's personal deity, the Yidam, as well as the spiritual teacher, the spiritual mentor, which is very important. Strengthening one's faith in relation to these spiritual beings is essential, and considering that one of the obstacles which comes about, which impedes our faith, is conceptual thoughts, these discursive thoughts, and these are really inner obstacles which can wear away and challenge our faith, and therefore to be very cautious in relation to these discursive thoughts is important in order to be able to protect our faith. And developing this determination to protect our faith and guard our minds from these discursive thoughts is very important.
Il faut chercher donc à s'en préserver, à s'en tenir à l'avant.
아니, 라보라토리에 가서 우리 때가 그냥 내 컨디션마다 가서 도주로도 내가 영어를 붙이고 되게 제 그야기다 내가 배워서 보시라 오늘 진짜 나 그기 주기 주시 다 라보 양념바 되게 너무 요새 제 가봐도 되게 진리에 대해 그런 것을 배워서 라보도 당연히 주주도 이거 샤샤가 있는 단지를 붙이
In the context of considering tantric from this perspective, we can see also that a way to improve and to make sure that our practice is really extraordinary depends upon meeting these spiritual mentors. We can think of how fortunate we are to have come into contact with His Holiness the 14th Dalai Lama, to be in a time alive during a time where he is present here. We can also think of all these great masters from Tibet, which are holders of the four lineages. These great masters, there are numerous of them which are alive in the present, and we have the fortune to be able to meet with them. We can think especially the connection with this center and the close connection which exists between the center and the Ganden Rinpoche. We can also think about this great master Lama Yeshe, along with Geshe Tengye, who used to be the resident teacher here, who's truly an authentic and fully qualified teacher. And also considering the recent passing away of Lama Zopa Rinpoche, who was a truly extraordinary being, and one can see by looking at his life and looking at his activities how everything in the teachings really came to life as he embodied so well these practices of loving kindness, compassion, and true reliance, authentic reliance on the spiritual master. It's like what was composed in the literature really was able to come to life through Lama Zopa's, through his life and his attitude towards life. And unfortunately, due to a lack of merit, there was the recent passing of Lama Zopa, who passed into paranirvana.
La capacité de bienveillance et de compassion sont telles qu'elles sont exactement décrites dans les textes, mais du fait donc, de nos mérites insuffisants, en fait, il s'est lui aussi donc, résorbé en fait, dans les terres pures. Il a résorbé sa manifestation.
see Kaka's cutting chip, Malay cutting chip, and giving some regular, cutting the magic, not just magic, to send seminary case for it, and then and then I Chicago. Then Jidan Lanska, management choose Jidan led up on the detail utilities. King so to be taken up, King to secret guitar to some of nutrition, the chip, King so to gain up to secret it. But the Darish Yagi conceal away. So, to secret guitar, and to say, shoot us something to not King purpose.
When we consider again Tengila, Geshe Tengila, I think it's important that we remember, both you and I, the kindness, and feel a great deal of gratitude in relation to him and to how much kindness he's brought into our lives. He is such a precious being, and it's important that we never forget any of the advice that he's given to us, and that we hold it very closely in our minds and next to our hearts. And I think, as for my personal connection with the Institute of Vajrayogini, this connection, I think, is really the condition for this connection to occur is thanks to Geshe Tengila. So this is another reason for us to bear in mind and to remember his kindness. This is why this connection that I had with him was the reason why I came here every summer. And so then now between each one of us, we've developed this Dharma connection, as well as a sharing of innocence, a kind of sharing life together here for a period of time. So it's really thanks to Geshe Tengila, which his kindness should never be forgotten.
C'est lui qui a quelque part, du fait de ce lien-là, en fait, c'est pour cela que je suis là ici. Donc, il ne faut pas oublier tout ce qu'on lui doit.
What I'm trying to get at here by mentioning these different ideas is to bear in mind really how fortunate we are to have come into contact with the greater Mahayana vehicle, as well as the profound and sacred teachings of the Tantra as well, to have come into contact with these extraordinary spiritual mentors, and to deeply feel a sense of joy and rejoice in our good fortune, really. I think rejoicing in this manner will help strengthen not only our courage, but our enthusiasm, and a deep appreciation for what is actually what we experience and what is accessible to us nowadays.
Le moyen justement de donner davantage de courage, de force mentale à notre esprit, oui, en inspirant.
Mainly, when we consider the practice of Dharma, we consider the mind to exist in sort of three main levels. There's the coarse level, the subtle level, and the very subtle level. And like I mentioned previously, the coarse level is the aspect of the dimension of the mind which is really trained when we engage in the practice in the three principal aspects of the path. And so these three principal aspects of the path enable ourselves to subdue our coarse level of mind and in the end actually cultivate calm abiding, this concentration. And this, while we develop calm abiding, actually, this enables us to engage in the subtler level of mind. So we're able to shift from the coarse to the subtle level of mind. Once the subtle of mind one has access to us, this is when the practice in the tantras there's this presentation of associating method and wisdom. So the practices of method and wisdom become inseparable. And through these practices, one is then able to gain access to the very subtle mind. And once one has access to the very subtle mind, when we talk about attaining enlightenment quickly, very quickly, this swift path to enlightenment actually becomes a possibility. It's something which you could actually logically prove. And because the very subtle mind does no longer has dualistic appearances, or at least they are very, very weak in that sense. And so this means that the attainment of enlightenment is possible to be achieved in a very rapid manner.
Au fur et à mesure de la pratique, alors que l'on vient activer, on vient stimuler des consciences ou des plans de plus en plus subtils de la conscience, c'est ça qui fait qu'ensuite le processus donc, peut se mettre en place de façon très rapide. La progression, en fait, peut évoluer de façon très rapide et qu'il devient possible donc, que, par exemple, l'état comme celui de la bouddhéité peut être obtenu en l'espace d'une existence. Et cela, en fait, on peut le concevoir par le raisonnement, dans la mesure où, comme on le disait également, dans ces niveaux très subtils de la conscience, sont des niveaux dans lesquels la dualité, les apparences de la dualité ne s'imposent plus en fait, à de telles consciences. Donc c'est ce qui permet de comprendre en fait comment il est possible ensuite d'évoluer si rapidement, donc de parcourir si rapidement les terres et les champs.
This is here I'm referring to one of the questions that I received, and so there is this mention of this quick attainment, this very quickly attaining enlightenment, and so I please continue sending any questions you have. Slowly I'm going to respond to them and try and include these different ideas in the teachings that I'm giving. So please don't hesitate if you have more questions to send them forward. In relation to this question, it brings to mind, there's these different types of bodhicitta, and so there's the one which is like the captain, so this kind of captain and going together and leading all sentient beings to enlightenment. Sorry, not the captain. There is the shepherd. The shepherd, so all the animals go before and the shepherd goes last. And so this dimension really shows a great deal of courage from the attitude of the practitioner. And I think this is really the attitude which is cultivated in relation to the aspirational bodhicitta. But when it comes to actually engage bodhicitta, here I think it has to do more with the king-like bodhicitta. So it's similar, like on the airplane, if there is a loss in cabin pressure, you have the masks which fall down from the above you, and you're supposed to put your mask on first. They say, please put on your mask on first before you start putting on somebody else's. And so this is really what is meant actually by the practice, by the actual engagement of bodhicitta, which is, first you need to do it yourself, and then there will be a capacity or a possibility to be able to accomplish the welfare of others.
Il me semble que cet esprit d'éveil ici, qui s'apparente à celui d'un berger, comme un berger, ça relève de ce premier niveau d'esprit d'éveil, aspiration. Parce qu'au moment, en fait, où on adopte, on s'engage dans la conduite d'un bodhisattva, c'est-à-dire on développe cet esprit d'éveil sous forme d'engagement, là, finalement, ça s'apparente comme un roi, en fait, c'est-à-dire à la première métaphore, à savoir, finalement, c'est d'abord soi-même devoir parvenir à la bouddhité pour ensuite permettre à chacun de s'y établir. Parce que c'est dans la nature, finalement, des choses. De la même façon que pour la vie, il faut d'abord soi-même pouvoir respirer pour pouvoir aider l'autre, en fait, ensuite à respirer.
In the context of engaging and practicing the yoga of Vajrasattva, here what is presented is a union, basically, in the method and wisdom. There is the joining together in one's practice, method and wisdom, and just like it is presented and mentioned in through principal aspects of the path, there is a section in the text which says that the realization or the view of emptiness must not be alternating with the view of dependent arising. Emptiness and dependent arising must be understood and realized simultaneously. So there's no longer this sequential development of these two views. They are arising at the same time, and the wisdom which realizes emptiness is able to see both of these simultaneously. And this is really the main practice which exists and which upon which the profound yoga actually functions. There needs to be this simultaneous view of emptiness and dependent arising, this communion, this conjoinment of both method and wisdom.
relève en fait de la sagesse foncièrement. Et lorsque cet aspect
When
de la répéter ainsi et de l'interdépendance,
when there is a simultaneous experience of both emptiness and dependent arising, and this
comme dissocié,
experience such arises in the mind, when it is one mind which is experiencing both emptiness and dependent arising at the same time, I think this has a significant effect on the person. I think it really drastically shifts their way of perceiving phenomena or perceiving the object. The object itself has not changed in a sense in any way, but the way it is experienced, the way it is seen, the way it is, if it's a sensory, if it's a sense of touch, then the way that experience of touch is completely different. And so I think this effect, this power, this experiential shift which occurs is not only present during the session, during the formal meditative session, but also continues. It has a significant effect outside of the sessions as well. And so the emphasis here is really not on the object itself. The object is not changing. It is really the way that you are engaging, the way you are relating or apprehending that specific object, which has a drastic change.
Et ce qui fait que dans la conscience d'un tel être, dans lequel sont ainsi unis, donc ne sont plus dissociés de ces deux aspects,
When there is a realization of this simultaneous perception of emptiness and dependent arising, not only is the object even so, when one is not engaging directly with the object, there is the mind becomes rather uncomfortable. There is some discomfort which arises in the mind, which would wear away. Okay, sorry, I'm not quite catching this. So the mind which might be uncomfortable previously then wears away when there is this simultaneous perception of dependent arising and emptiness which occurs at the same time. Okay.
Et quand bien même,
And so when there is this simultaneous perception of dependent arising and emptiness, it doesn't mean actually that there has been an abandonment of disturbing emotions or karma. These both exist actually. There is still the karma and disturbing emotions are still there, but it's kind of similar to when we discussed this idea of poison being shifted into medicine. So this poisonous has had this poison has been transformed into medicine, and so therefore all of the previous unpleasant experiences which are arising from disturbing emotions, which are arising from karma, no longer have a negative effect on oneself. One has, in a sense, gained control and is not swayed by disturbing emotions, and does not lose track because of disturbing emotions. That unpleasantness is now gone.
encore, donc perturbation, enfin les différents types de voies, et perturbation et à la connaissance, il n'empêche que la force de cette pratique ici de la sagesse permet en fait de dissiper des états d'esprit, donc d'abattement, de souffrance, de difficulté, par exemple. C'est surtout parce que les projets disaient d'ordinaire qu'on reste focalisé en un point. Donc tous les cas de vie, alors je ne comprenais pas du tout.
I will not be self-conscious.
Some people feel uncomfortable with picture. Feel free. En fait,
quand on cherche à développer
Usually, when there is a developer of calm abiding,
à se focaliser
when we try and train in single pointed concentration, what we notice on our experience is to improve the quality in the sense of our mind. There is this there's this transformation from the side of the subject, of the way that they are of its quality. So there's this experience of an improvement in the sense of the quality of the mind. But in relation to meditation on emptiness, and meditating on emptiness actually is quite different, because when you're not going to be improving in the sense like calm abiding does, or concentration does, the quality of your mind, because you're really addressing the way that you're perceiving an object. You're shifting your perception from a mistaken view to a correct view. So the way that the effect will be slightly different, and the feeling that one will derive from such a practice will be slightly different, because it's really relating to your perception of the object, as opposed to an improvement of the quality of the mind, which one feeling might get from practicing a calm abiding or single pointed concentration. They're slightly different, I think, but it might be different for people. I can't say that it's like this for everybody, but I suspect. When we discuss why we need to meditate on emptiness, or what is the point in the sense of emptiness, the answer which is usually provided is to get out of samsara. And that's really like a textbook answer, and it's often an answer that we repeat. But actually, this answer is correct, yet we need to bring this idea of why we're practicing and why we're training in the view of emptiness a little bit closer to home. Liberating oneself from samsara really seems quite far away, maybe also slightly abstract in a certain sense. So here, we really need to bring the practice of emptiness relevant to our day-to-day lives, and to understand that really the reason why we're training in emptiness is to rid ourselves of this belief in intrinsic existence of phenomena, and to develop a clearer understanding and a view which is a view of reality which is much clearer, which is much more spot on in a sense. And so this will mean that we'll be able to see reality in a clear manner, and so this will result in an experience of ease. We will have a day-to-day sort of ease in relation to various experiences. There will be a sort of clearing of the mind, and a more in the sense of a relaxing and an opening up of the mind in this practice. And that's really, in a day-to-day life, what this means for us. So how are we going to do that? How are we going to meditate on emptiness? So that's your homework. So that's some homework question for you. How are you going to meditate on emptiness now?
La vacuité, eh ben ça, ce sont vos devoirs à la maison.
How do we do this? And well, if we think about this yearly reunion that we do, when we do this yearly retreat, this Vajrasattva retreat, and we do every year these visualizations, and we build up these creative images of Vajrasattva, and we gather here together in the month of August. And it's really an experience that we do communally, so we accumulate in this common sort of karma by doing this practice together. If we really, over the years, hope for any type of improvement in this practice, we really need to have some conjoinment in with the view of emptiness, because without that, our retreat, there's an important ingredient missing in our retreat. If we go back to the sequence which is presented within the sadhana, and so there are these visualizations that we do in relation to the accomplishment of the two welfares, and then there are the following sections where there are these different beings which are visualized and brought in and out in one's field of vision, like the initiation beings, the commitment beings. And so specifically in relation to the commitment beings, there is the development where we take this time to develop this strong faith and confidence in relation to these beings. And so we develop the state of mind of faith and confidence, and afterwards one can abide in a meditative absorption, stabilize one's mind in this mental state of faith and confidence.
되게 우두기게 대버치세 우두기세 같이 가서 제일 너무 제일 너무 제일 normal 시점 앞에 용 소리 담식스 그런 도시성 대미식 비바시 그리고 도시성 제자용 수도 있고 있는 것이 약기 용 소리 담식이 인간 센터 소방지구 이동 대상 같은 남기는 것을 가지고 있는 대상
On parle en fait de ce Vajrasattva, donc ainsi pleinement manifesté.
Ainsi.
Alors c'est traduit littéralement, rituellement par l'être maître d'engagement.
And so here, Vajrasattva is often presented under the form of being the commitment being, the samaya being. And so a commitment being, what does this actually mean? It's the symbol really. And this being is really considered the symbol or the support in order to bring our mind closer to this entity. So it's also a very clear, clean, pure, unconditional connection that one has with this being. When we hear the word commitment being or samaya being, one really needs to feel it's relating to your heart and being close in your heart with this entity. And so I think the reason why it's mentioned in this in these sadhanas is because this is not just a process of creative imagination. It is not just a visualization that you're doing. It's not just a visual experience in that sense, but it also requires a certain level of experience and a sense of connection. And so the mention of the commitment beings is really mentioning this experience, this feeling of closeness, which is based, associated with faith, and it's also going to bring about the possibility of realization. It's really the support for faith and realization, this feeling of closeness with the commitment beings. And so this proceeds by these accomplishment of the two welfares, rays of light shining out and reabsorbing. And it's very important to understand that these commitment beings are the basis of accomplishments. This is what the commitment beings actually enable. And usually the relations that we have with beings are relationships based upon attachment, which is very, very different than a relationship based upon faith. But when you hear this word commitment being, which sounds a bit dry, actually think of this being which is very, very close to your heart. Once this Vajrasattva is fully visualized in its full form, it is important that this is considered to be the commitment being. It's important that one feels a deep sense of joy and a deep sense of gladness and happiness by seeing these beings before us. And I think it would be useful to, once this is visualized, to rest there a little while in a meditative absorption in order to enable the accumulation of an extensive amount of merit.
Et pour ensuite de ce ressenti, de pouvoir focaliser en fait notre esprit en un point, donc sur ce Vajrasattva. Et ce qui permet d'accumuler des mérites.
If we engage in the process, in this activity of creative imagination, and we actually become stuck on this idea of my visualization is no good, this is not good, that's not quite right, or we fall under the control of these types of sort of distractions, or we think I am a good meditator, this is going really well, and there's this heavy sort of clinging and grasping at the self. This is actually inappropriate during this section of visualization. During this moment of visualizing the commitment being, it seems really important to me that there is a sense of humility in the meditator by being in the presence of these commitment beings, and there's not so much this focus on this or that, am I doing this right or wrong, and just develop a deep sense of humility in the presence of these commitment beings seems quite important to me.
De tourner en fait son esprit vers cette foi, cette confiance, etc. Donc il suscite ce transport de cette joie.
Based upon this humble state of mind, a training in faith and in joy will it will flourish very naturally in a sense.
Qui va permettre donc à l'esprit de se focaliser en un point, donc ici sur cet aspect-là, donc de Vajrasattva entier, va naturellement pouvoir s'élever, permettre à la joie, à l'aisance, à un confort finalement mental de s'élever, au bien-être mental de s'élever. When one has time to
to engage in this practice when you are meditating on the commitment beings and visualize in this section of the sadhana. If you do have the time and space to be able to do this, I think, although this is not present in any type of text, I do think it might be appropriate to also take time to go for refuge and generate the spirit of enlightenment in relation to these commitment beings, because it really is the opportunity where there are a lot of conducive conditions in the experience sense, so in the state of mind, in the way you're feeling in relation to these commitment beings, which are supporting these practices and for other positive experiences to arise from it.
Ça me permet justement de faire quelque chose que je n'avais pas pu traduire la dernière fois. C'est à propos des 4 branches donc, qui constituent la structure en fait de toute cette.
So what is presented here is in relation to the 4 branches of the practice that I mentioned last time. So this is the nearing. What I've just mentioned now really is associated with the nearing branch, and the next one is the close attainment. And so this point is associated with the 3 syllables which are written on the syllables on the body of Vajrasattva. So you have the Om on the crown of the head, which is white, and then you have the A at the throat, which is red, and then you have the Hum at the heart, which is blue. And so this is the stage where there is this, where it can be close attainment or nearing attainment. Which is the second of the 4 branches which exist within these practices.
Donc ces 3 portes sont des quelque sorte du corps, de la parole, de l'esprit, donc les 3 vajras, à savoir en une place de sa couronne crânienne, donc se trouve un homme de couleur blanche, en une place qui symbolise donc le corps vajra, en une place de sa gorge se trouve un A de couleur rouge qui symbolise la parole vajra, et en une place de son cœur se trouve un Hum, habituellement le Hum est de couleur bleue, mais en contexte de Vajrasattva il est de couleur blanche, en vue justement de participer à la purification des méfaits, et il symbolise donc l'esprit Vajra.
So sorry, here in the context of Vajrasattva, the Hum is not blue, it's white, and it's associated with the Vajra mind of Vajrasattva. Are you getting hot? Rinpoche is asking how to say this in French. You look quite sort of flaked out. When we do the visualization of the nectar where you receive the blessings from the accumulation, you can think of it being very cool and very refreshing. like an air conditioning. And you can think of Vajrasattva on the crown of your hair. So usually the visualizations of deity, they have quite a warm presence, but today we'll have a very cool and fresh Vajrasattva on the crown of our heads, no?
Assurons-nous que le Vajrasattva ressemble un peu à un brumisateur. Donc, il y a des gouttelettes qui passent par un air conditionné, enfin, une climatisation, qui se rafraîchissent un peu. Et donc, pour
In relation to a question which was asked, which was associated with ordinary appearances, when are ordinary appearances dissolved, and when is a Buddha identity cultivated, developed? So when the commitment being is visualized, one is actually at this point abandoning ordinary appearances and casting them aside, because the body of the commitment being, which is Vajrasattva, is it doesn't exist in an ordinary fashion, which means that it doesn't exist with all the flesh and blood and all of these different organs which we normally think of when we think of a body. This body is actually in the nature of wisdom. It is a wisdom nature body. And whom really symbolizes this primordial wisdom, which has a within primordial wisdom over the inseparable of bliss and emptiness. And so this is really what the deity, manifests. And so it has the aspect is a body-like, but actually its nature is the nature of wisdom. And in this sense, at this point, one needs to put aside ordinary view to be able to consider the deity's body in this manner. One can think of the body of the deity as being, it's a body, it's a mind body in the sense, because it is a body which is made up of or arising out of wisdom. And as for Buddha identity or divine pride, here it is also developed at this point, and so it is really has to do with your perception and the way that you are seeing the deity. You are thinking that the Vajrasattva, which is abiding on the crown of your head, is actually there and is an actual Buddha Vajrasattva there. And so there's a belief in this identity, in this existence of such a spiritual being laying on the crown of your head. And Buddha identity and divine pride sometimes is practiced in relation to oneself, when one does one's own self-generation as the deity, but it can also be done in relation to a deity's visualized, for example, on the crown of one's head. And so here there is a real perception of the Vajrasattva on the crown of our head to be in the presence of the Buddha, and this is really the deep perception that one has, and so it's very strongly imbued with faith. When it's a visualization of oneself at the deity, there is a faith, a very strong faith, but also a certain feeling which associates that experience. And when it's on the crown of your head, it's mainly a faith, a very strong faith, not so much a personal embodiment of that.
Juliet on something Gabjon, somebody, Nina, Kusuntu, Misna, Nalandia, Sangi Tanji, Kadin, Nalandia, Chikima, Kusuntu, Chikima, some by Tagala, and this was
After the visualization of Vajrasattva, there are these three syllables which are inscribed on the body of Vajrasattva: the Om, the A, and the Hum, which are in through three places. And this section of the visualization is significant because it helps us reflect upon the way that we ordinarily perceive phenomena. And the ordinary mind, when we encounter different people which are of, which look different basically shapes and sizes, we consider everything as being very separate and very distinct. But actually in a Buddha land, whether it's Manjushri or Chenrezig, they have different aspects, one could say, but in their nature they are fundamentally one. And it is inappropriate to consider Manjushri or Chenrezig or these other Buddhas to have a different nature, because this would be actually beholding a dualistic view. So it's only a different sort of manifestations, one could say, or different aspects, but actually in their nature and in the essence they are actually one. And this is the way one must perceive all deities, that deities are actually in one nature, in one in essence. And what is that essence? It is the inseparability, the union of a method and wisdom. And this is really the ultimate yoga to be kind of practiced in that sense. This is really what we're working towards. The second point I want to address is in relation to the commitment being, which is Vajrasattva. When we think of Om Ahong and the body, speech and mind, the body, speech and mind actually indicating three specific aspects, one could say, of the deity, or three specific strengths. And here this meditation is bringing and channeling our focus on these three aspects, or these three strengths. And so to consider the body, speech and mind as well as being distinct, as separate, is also adopting a dualistic view. One needs to perceive the body, speech and mind to be one in nature in that sense. And so there is this inseparability, basically, of the body, speech and mind, of the commitment being. And by reflecting upon this in this manner throughout the process of visualization, one is actually leaving behind ordinary appearances of the dualistic mind, and this sort of this breaking down, or this separation that we do in relation to the body, speech and mind. And so this is really the contemplation, or the background thought, which is occurring when we are visualizing the Om Ahom. In relation to the body, speech, and mind, and these syllables which are inscribed at the three places, this moment is really, like I mentioned, this second limb of the four stages of this practice. So first we had the nearing, and now we have the near attainment or the close attainment, which is really a strengthening of this feeling of closeness. Because what happens, one is reflecting upon the body, speech, and mind of this commitment being, and the commitment being is truly perceived to be the embodiment of the body, speech, and mind, the sacred body, speech, and mind of all the Buddhas. And so Vajrasattva embodies that, is kind of materializes all of the Buddha's body, speech, and mind, and through engaging in this practice and receiving the blessings from these three syllables, from these three places, one is receiving the blessing of all the Buddhas in this, of all the Buddhas' body, speech, and mind. And so this embodiment that the commitment being is presenting before us is these conditions in order to feel, to develop this second limb, this second branch in the practice, which is the near attainment, where we're growing ever closer and feeling ever closer to this commitment being before us, because we understand, and we not only intellectually understand, but deeply feel connected to the qualities of the body, speech, and mind of all the Buddhas through this commitment being. So the previous feeling of closeness, which arrives when we were describing the nearing limb, grows even stronger during the second, which is the near attainment limb.
À ce stade-là, on apprend encore, on intensifie encore ce sentiment de proximité avec lui.
Kande? And also this perception of the Samaya's beings, body, speech, and mind, being simply different aspects, but actually one in nature, is another way to wear away at these ordinary appearances. And basically what I mean by ordinary appearances is the dualistic mind.
Donc ça, c'est un des aspects de cette section. L'autre aspect étant de voir l'absence de distinction quant à l'essence en fait de chacune de ces portes, c'est-à-dire la nature du corps, la nature de la parole, la nature de l'esprit de Vajrasattva est indissociable de l'autre, donc ne constitue qu'une seule et même chose, la même nature. Et tout naturellement, donc, cette nouvelle perception permet en fait aux états d'esprit mis en place antérieurement, à savoir la confiance, la conviction. Donc,
sorry. And so this mental experience, when we engage in this meditative practice, actually brings about a growth of faith. You become more and more deeply confident and feel a sense of faith in relation to this commitment being. And so there's lots of questions which arise in relation to how to visualize this, how to visualize that, but it's important to remember that all of these different implements or symbols that you are bringing to mind throughout this process of creative imaginations are just signposts. Yeah, like I said, when you're driving along the road and you have these signs which are indicating various things, they're warning signs in a sense. And so think that when you see these syllables Omahum, it's like, it's telling you, you know, watch out, don't start considering that the body, speech, and mind of the Samaya being are distinct. Don't think that the body, speech, and mind of all the Buddhas are distinct, that they are actually one in nature, one in essence. And so this is really what the warning sign is telling you. Don't start thinking about how big it needs to be, the syllable Om or whatnot. This would really be just a waste of time in focusing on the size and so forth.
C'est du temps perdu en fait. C'est pas ça qui est important. Ce qui est important, c'est que ça sert de panneau de rappel, en quelque sorte, pour nous ramener à ne pas à cesser en fait de les voir toutes les trois comme étant, enfin tous les trois comme étant de nature distincte.
So I think I should be a little bit careful, and I was a bit daring saying that Om Ahom are just like signposts. They are very sacred and holy syllables. So I'm not denigrating that in any way. Yeah. So let's leave it at that for today.